Today, UFC 303 is upon us, where in the main event, Alex Pereira will face off against Yuri Prohaska in the rematch. Also, what about Diego Lopez versus Brian Ortega? Plus, we also got B like Joe Pfeiffer on this card. Plus, we have Ian Gary Machado, or Ian Machado Gary, whichever Ian you want to use, stepping in there with MVP Michael Venom Page. What else you trying to see? We got Anthony Smith. Yeah. And Myra Bueno Silva. Yeah. And many more on today's episode of Matter of Fact MMA. What's up? What's happening? Let's go. What's up, guys? We right back at it, right back with it. It's your boy Matt. We here to go ahead and break down UFC 303, which goes down this Saturday night in Las Vegas at the T-Mobile Arena. Let's start out with the top. In the main event, as Alex Poatan Pereira steps in the octagon to try and defend his light heavyweight championship against the former champ, Yuri Prohaska. This is a rematch after Alex Pereira won their first battle. So, I've already kind of spoken about this fight, but let's get right into it. So, the first time these two met, you got to understand, at that point in time, the title was vacant because Jamal Hill vacated the title after he beat Glover Teixeira to win the title after Yuri Prohaska had vacated the title, right? So there's a lot of vacations going on. We vacating everything. With that being said, Yuri Prohaska goes out there, gets his shot to try to regain his belt, goes out there against Alex Pereira. First round, Yuri Prohaska's doing his thing. He's doing work. Second round goes on. Yuri's looking good at the beginning, but slowly Alex Pereira begins to chip away. Eventually, Alex Pereira finds a home for some devastating hard shots. Okay? Yuri kind of falls, he kind of doubles over, so to speak. Alex is still delivering shots, but looks like Yuri could kind of still be in it, might be completely out. That's up for debate. The referee stops the fight. So, Yuri, in the moment, felt like Alex Pereira definitely did catch him, put him on Dream Street, and went on to win the fight. Since then, it's been a lot chirped about it, as far as did Pereira actually win or was that an early stoppage. Now we're going to get the chance for Alex Pereira to try to rectify everything. In my opinion, I'm going to go out here, I'm going to pick Alex Pereira to get the win. Now, with that being said, I would not be shocked in the slightest if Yuri Prohaska goes out there and defeats Alex Pereira. But in my opinion, what I saw from Yuri, both men fought at the same time on their last fight. Both of them were at the same time on the same card, right? With that being said, that being UFC 300, Yuri Prohaska's fight was it was a war compared to what Alex Pereira went through. Alex Pereira got Jamal Hill out of there early on in the first round. Yuri Prohaska had a really competitive fight with Alexander Rakic. With that being said, from what I saw, Yuri basically nutted up and went in there and battled it out with Rakic. Rakic was clearly winning the fight in the first and early in the second round. And basically, Yuri Prohaska began to just take one to land one, take one to land two, and just began to walk through Rakic's shots. Rakic seemed like he had gotten a little bit tired as well after he had unloaded the tank multiple times on Yuri. Yuri pretty much begins to walk him down, walk through his shots, eventually goes on to get the win. With that being said, a lot of the times that's kind of the way Yuri fights in a way. Yuri, while he's going to go out there, he goes berserker fashion to get a win. You know what I'm saying? Yuri's out there. It's cold weather. He's got on nothing but a loincloth, and the homie has a battle axe, and he's ready to go to war. That's just the type of dude he is. He's a different type of cat. You know what I'm saying? Homie goes into the mountains to train. You know what I'm saying? Then emerges. You know what I'm talking about? Homie talks about sitting in a dark room just in contemplation for days at a time. You know what I'm saying? So this is a different type of cat. With that being said, I'm sure he's probably going to have a different game plan. He's probably going to be more strategic. We would think. But with that being said, if he is not, if he is planning on going there and trying to walk through Alex Pereira's shots to get one, to get two, to get the win, I don't see that faring well for him. I don't see that happening. Now, with that being said, Alex Pereira is coming off of, I believe, a double toe break. Not just one toe, two toes got broke. You know what I'm saying? And I believe that was why he wasn't able to actually fight at the UFC card that was in Brazil. With that being said, you know, I don't know, man. To be honest, Poatan is such a beast. Even if his toe, even if he is still slightly injured from the broken toes, I don't see that stopping him at all. But my pick to win this fight is actually going to be Poatan, Alex Pereira. Like I said, I can definitely see a world where Yuri does defeat him, catches him. If he does, I believe it's going to be from catching him with a crazy shot, as we all expect from Yuri. Yuri catches him with something, because I did notice in their first fight, Yuri was definitely catching Alex Pereira with a lot of crazy angles. He throws from the hip when he punches. He throws single shots, but they come at such crazy angles, you can't really tell if it's going to be low, high, to the body, or to the head. So it's definitely possible he could catch Alex Pereira, because he was early on in their fight, but if he's not going to tighten up that defense, I see Alex Pereira putting him to sleep. Let's move on to the co-main event. Co-main event of the night. Brian Ortega steps in the octagon with Diego Lopez. I got Diego Lopez all day. I speak about this dude all the time. I mean, even in his very first fight in the octagon, which he took a L, to me, he showed so much as to the fighter he was going to be. And he hasn't let me down yet. He continues to go out there, shock the crowd, put on amazing performances, generally get his opponent out of there quickly and efficiently. You know what I'm saying? I'm actually going to go along with Diego Lopez to go out here and get the win. Brian Ortega generally has a style where he's losing the entire fight and then he pulls off a submission to win. Now, his last fight, he did look like a world beater. He went in there and he did his thing. But, you know, I'm still going to go along with Diego Lopez, go out there and get the win. And, continue his rise, so to speak. How about GOAT fighter Anthony Smith? How about Anthony Smith versus Roman Dolidze? How about this, matter of fact, MMA fans? Your boy Matt is actually going to do it. I'm going to pick Anthony Smith to get the win here. Now watch this. Watch this be the time that Anthony Smith is like, nah, bruh, I'm old. I'm washed, and I'm ready to put the gloves down. Because I've been calling for this man being old, washed, and been calling for him to put down the gloves for like his last 5 fights. And he just keeps going out there. Now, with that being said, I've picked him in his last couple of fights to lose, and he's gone out there and did his thing. But, bro, Anthony Smith, I mean, the Anthony Smith you expect to see is the one that lost to Khalil Roundtree. Then he goes out there and does something weird, and you're like, I can't believe Anthony Smith just got another win. With that being said, I think Roman Dolidze is a decent fighter. I don't think he's the best. I think he's got a ways to go when you get in there with a really dynamic guy. Not saying Anthony Smith is the most dynamic, but he throws heavy on the feet. He's got hard leg kicks, and he's accomplished on the ground. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, submitted his last opponent. I'm actually going to go along with Anthony Smith to go out there and defeat Roman Dolidze. How about former title challenger Mayra Bueno Silva stepping in the octagon with Macy Chiasson? I'm actually going to go along with Macy Chiasson to get the win here. You know what I'm saying? I'm shocking everybody. You know what I'm talking about? Bro, I was a fan of Myra Bueno Silva, but the way that she just folded and just collapsed and was in dire straits against Raquel Pennington, bro, I can't roll with Bueno Silva no more. I'm going along with Macy Chiasson to get the win. She's long. She's got the range. She seemed to be rejuvenating her last fight. You know, I believe that if her team can definitely come up with a good game plan against Bueno Silva, I believe she can go in there and get the win. I'm not sure what happened to Bueno Silva in her last fight. She seemed to gas out after the first round. She had nothing left. And to me, it's possible that Chiasson might be too big, too long, too rangy to get caught by one of Myra's sneaky, tricky up against the cage submissions or on the ground submissions. We'll see, because, you know, Bueno Silva can pull a submission, pull a rabbit out the hat at any time. But I'm going along with Macy Chiasson to get the win. Next, we have Ian Machado Gary stepping in there with Michael Venom Page. With this one, I'm actually going MVP. I feel like in the type of fighting style, the type of stand-up style that both of these men possess, I think that Ian Machado Gary is a little too chinny. You know what I'm saying? He's just a little bit too chinny. I'm not saying he's full-blown chinny, but he's a little bit too chinny, in my opinion, to face a striker like MVP. I feel like both of these men definitely can hold their own standing. So there's no question about it. Ian Machado Gary can definitely strike. He sets a lot of traps. He sets a lot of sneaky traps to lure his fighters in, as well as MVP does the same. The difference is I believe MVP can take the shot of Ian Machado Gary. I'm not sure that Ian Machado Gary can take the shots of MVP, especially more than one. You know what I'm saying? His chin might withstand one solid one, maybe two. But over 3 rounds, MVP gonna find you. He gonna find you, you know what I'm saying? Because in my opinion, Ian doesn't possess the wrestling, the grappling, or any of those type of intangibles that's gonna keep MVP from finding him. And MVP is extremely patient. He can go all 3 rounds and just wait for his chance. Wait for his chance, feint the jabs, feint the punches, feint the leg kicks, and then wham! You know, spinning back kick, standing side kick, you know, roundhouse kick, you know, question mark kick, flying knee, big elbow, flying right hand, flying left hand. I mean, the homie can hit you with any number of weapons, you know what I'm saying? So with that being said, I feel like MVP will remain patient until Ian Machado Gary slips up. He'll catch him, and that'll be all she wrote. So in my opinion, MVP wins this fight, probably by stoppage or by knockout. With that being said, if it goes to the scorecards, I could still see him being able to outpoint Ian Machado Gary. So I got MVP for the win. Let's move on. We have Be Like Joe Pyfer stepping in there with Powerbar, Marc-Andre Barriault. Man, for this one, I'm going along with Joe Pyfer. I feel like Joe Pyfer comes off to me like the type of fighter that after his last loss against Jack Hermanson, I feel like he's the type of fighter that goes back to the drawing board, tries to cinch up, so to speak, any holes in his game, anything like that. I feel like he's going to come back stronger, more prepared, probably game plan a lot better, a lot safer against an opponent. And to be honest, man, I mean, Marc-Andre, he's not Jack Hermanson. I'm not saying Jack Hermanson's not a world beater, but Jack Hermanson's been in there with some of the best in the sport, and Marc-Andre has not. He's been in there with some good fighters. He's coming off of a loss, but, you know, we could be seeing at this stage in his career, I mean, he's definitely going to have the cardio, no doubt. Probably have better cardio, I believe, than Joe Pyfer. With that being said, though, I mean, Mark, you know, his chin, I don't know if he can withstand those Joe Pyfer shots. So I'm going along with Joe Pyfer to get the win. Next, we have legendary Cub Swanson stepping in there with Andre Fili. Man, I'm going along with Andre Fili. A lot of these picks might be unpopular, but I'm going along with Andre Fili. I've always liked Andre Fili. I've always respected his game. You know, he seems to be really, he's not late in his career, but he's later compared to as long as we've been watching the man fight. And I feel like I don't want to say he's coming into his own because I don't see him making a run for the title or anything, but he just seems like he's hit another level. So I'm going to go along with Andre Fili to get the win over Cub Swanson. You know, Cub Swanson from 9 years ago, way different story. You know what I'm saying? Killer Cub Swanson, way different story. This new Cub Swanson, a little bit up in years, a little bit later in his career. Shout out to him. You know what I'm saying? He put on an amazing performance in his last fight. But man, I'm still gonna go along with Andre Fili to get the win. Let's move on. We have Charles Air Jordan stepping in there with Gene Silva. Man, I love Gene Silva. I love the way this dude fights. I love the barking. I love the intensity. I love how long he takes to make it into the octagon. But Charles Jordan has been in there with some really good fighters. He's beaten some really good fighters. I think he's more well-rounded. He's schooled on the ground. He's schooled in submissions. He's good at scrambles. He's definitely worked over time at his submissions, his ground game. I'm not sure how much of a ground game Silva actually possesses, but Silva is so early in his career, I feel like Charles Jordan might be a tall task at this moment. The fan in me really wants Jean Silva to win. But with that being said, I'm going to go along with Charles Air Jordan to get the win. Next, we have Peyton Talbot stepping in there with Giannis Gimori, as I ruined that name 2 or 3 times. I'm going along with Peyton Talbot. Not only did I shade that gentleman's name, but I'm not choosing him to win. I'm choosing Peyton. I think for this fight, Peyton's going to go in there and make quick work, have a highlight reel finish. And that's just what that is. I believe the UFC did clever matchmaking here. They set this up perfectly. Peyton goes out there. He's on the main card, gets a devastating knockout, and moves on. Anyway, let's move on to the next fight. Prelims main event. Michelle Waterson Gomez steps in there with Jillian Robertson. Man, I got Jillian Robertson. Shout out to Michelle Waterson Gomez. You know, she's a legend amongst female fighters as far as never won the championship, never did anything like that, but definitely a fighter that was always noticed. As well as always kind of been somewhat famous amongst the female fighters. Now, you can argue the reasons for that, but, you know, has always done well at the UFC, has been on the analyst desk before, really has always come in, you know, fought some short notice fights and everything for him. And they try to always push her out there, but she doesn't get the wins that the UFC wants her to get. And I don't see one happening here. I mean, she's definitely got the advantage in the stand-up, but if it goes to the ground, Jillian Robertson is definitely going to submit her. That's just what it is. She's going to control her, and she's going to submit her. So, I'm going along with Jillian Robertson to get the submission finish. Let's move on. We have Andrei Arlovski, the legend, stepping back in their former heavyweight champion, stepping in there with Martin Buday. Even though I said that about Arlovski, I'm going along with Martin Buday to get the win. What I like about Martin Buday is he's probably not even going to worry about trying to strike with Arlovski. He's going to try to close the distance. He's going to try to collapse the pocket, push Arlovski up against the fence, do a lot of dirty boxing, a lot of cage grappling, holding him up against the cage, probably try to trip him a few times, get him on the ground for trip. I could definitely see him trying to submit him by taking an arm, trying to Kimura, anything along those lines. Or in the process of Arlovski trying to stand back to his feet, he gets on top of him and takes his back. Because a man of that size and girth on Arlovski's back, he's not going to withstand it. He can't handle it. So, I'm going along with Martin to get the win there. Let's move on. We have Ray Tesura, if I pronounce his name correctly, stepping in there with Carlos Hernandez. Man, these road to the octagon fighters, a little bit sus outside of Tetsuro Taira or guys like that. I'm going to go along with Carlos Hernandez to get the win. You know what I'm saying? I know Carlos Hernandez just took a loss to Taira, but, he went the distance with the man, when I'm looking at it. And with that being said, dude, I mean, that took a lot. That took a lot. You know what I'm saying? Homie went the distance. That took a lot. So, with that being said, I think he's going to be able to go out there and get the win. So, I got Carlos Hernandez to get the win. And finally, in the opening fight of the night, we have Ricky Simone stepping in there with Vinicius Oliveira. I know Oliveira went out there and got a win in his last fight, and it was pretty shocking, spectacular knockout. With that being said, I was looking, and generally Oliveira is going to go out there and finish his fights early. Like, he likes to go out there, get him out of there in the first round, or get him out of there early, and he likes to go for the finish. Very rarely does he go to a decision, and he's not a decision guy. So, I'm not saying he's a front runner. I definitely wouldn't say that because we haven't seen enough of him, but that's his style. He goes out there early on and does his thing. I could see him catching Ricky Simone with something, flying knee, something along those lines. As Ricky Simone's going for a takedown, but Ricky Simone is hard-nosed. He's tough. He's hard to get out of there. You know what I'm saying? He's a skilled fighter. He's now pretty much a veteran of his weight class. And I'm going to go along with him to go out there and get the win. You know what I'm saying? He looked good in his last fight, even though he took an L. He still competed strongly. He didn't really look like he lost a step. He just looked like he ran into a guy that was, had a step above him, a step ahead in some exchanges, especially on the ground. So with that being said, I think Ricky Simone's top pressure, his control, his wrestling, his grappling, I think will all be enough to cruise to a 3-round decision over Oliveira. So I got Ricky Simone to go out there and get the win. So that is your breakdown for UFC 303. It goes down at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Very anxious to see it. Very interested to see it. I know we're supposed to have Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler, but Conor McGregor is out. He's not stepping in the octagon. We don't know when he's coming back to the octagon. And poor Michael Chandler is still sitting on the sidelines, getting older, and ain't fought in almost 3 years. So, we talking about Poatan, Alex Pereira, and Yuri Prochazka, the two men that answered the call. So, nevertheless, man, it goes down Saturday night. Can't wait to see it. Please like, subscribe, comment. Let me know your picks for UFC 303. And I do want to thank you for joining me for another episode of Matter of Fact MMA. And I check you next time. Peace.